remember when I auditioned for the Mighty Ducks, like they asked if I could skate, and I was like, yeah, I can roller skate. Couldn't roller skate at all, you know. But it was just one of those, like, they say put special skills at the bottom of the resume to make it look nicer and make it look more interesting. So I'm like,
special
I've
skills?
been roller skating, so I'll put that down there. I remember, like, I used to fall 2 feet up roller skating. You know what I mean? Like real
you
bad
would have
falls.
Epic falls.
Yeah, super duper.
You weren't even close to being able to skate.
But thank God they taught me.
This episode is brought to you by Rivian and Cologuard.
Hey, you.
Well, Craig Robinson, here you are again. You show back up.
I'm going to keep coming if you keep coming.
Okay, that's a deal. That's a deal. We're having a lot of fun.
This is so much fun.
Yeah, loving your color selection. What would you call that?
I would call this an olive green.
Yeah. Kelly hooked you up again.
She did, once again. Once again.
And you made it here and put those clothes on just like she told you to, all by yourself.
So, did I hear a rumor that you have driven your Rivian?
Driving my Rivian. It was cool. Yeah. I've got this amazing forest green Rivian. It is beautiful. It just sits in the driveway. Beautiful. I love the look of that car.
It's a good looking car.
It is an elegant car.
And it's bigger than you think once you get in it.
It's huge, especially after driving a smaller car.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so smooth. And we were on some back roads and some little unpaved things. It didn't, feel bumpy. It was although I was riding with Malia and she had just gotten into town.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm still new driving.
New to an electric car, right?
And new because I don't drive all the time,
right? That's right.
So this is me and my daughter. We're in the car, just the two of us, got the radio on, and I'm trying to figure out everything and where do you press this? And she's telling me her life because she had just gotten into town and she's
ready to talk.
She's ready to
about
talk.
her.
And she's talking and I'm trying to drive and work the pedal. And she's like, and then Mom, what happened? And I was like, turn the station down. And she's just going at me, It's like she's telling me everything. Important news too. So I'm trying to drive my Rivian, pay attention to the screen, not hit a deer, But through it all, it was a really smooth ride.
Well,
it was.
Folks have heard us talk about the Rivians that we have been gifted by the company to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelly and I finally got to do a long ride where you have to charge it when you're away.
Oh, yeah.
And because
she was nervous about
She was
that.
a little nervous about it. And I was saying, they do such a good job in their app of showing you not only where the Rivian charging stations are, but where any charging station is. So you're never really out there on your own. And so we drove, I don't know, 400 something miles away, charged it away at a grocery store, and it was way to go. So went in and got something to eat.
Yeah.
Messed around with the dashboard and still finding stuff out. So it was really good.
Yeah.
It was really good. So,
and another friend of mine who has a Rivian says that there's a whole camper unit that you can get with it.
You can.
Yeah. Which I didn't. I know that Rivian, they are really pushing outdoor life. So the hood is not, because there's no engine, you can use it as a cooler. But I didn't realize that you could get other accessories like there's a cooktop and other kind of, you've never told me about that.
But that's because I haven't been camping.
Yeah, but still, those are features that are really pretty interesting for the more outdoorsy people who are Rivian users.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was thrilled. It's a beautiful car, and when I get back home, I'm going to drive it some more.
Yeah. Well,
so
we have a guests of all guests.
Yeah,
this
one of
time
my
around.
favorite people. He doesn't know that.
Well, how could he? He
I don't
before
think he knows
today,
that.
he hadn't met
I guess
us.
we never met him. But don't you feel like, you should know that?
And it feels like not only should we know that we know him, but it feels like he should know us. He feels like, I was telling you, he feels like somebody who went to Mount Carmel High School walking down the hallway, cracking jokes on dudes, and dudes going to their locker room shaking their head crying. I mean, just he's that for me. Like if I look at him and he smirks a little, I will start cracking up. And we're talking about Kenan Thompson, you all.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Before I get too far ahead of myself.
Well, let's introduce him so we can get him out here.
I will. Kenan Thompson is an award-winning actor, comedian, producer, and author.
All of that?
Yep. Best known for his work on...
When does he have time for all that?
Saturday Night Live, or SNL as people call it.
Is that what they say?
Yeah. And he's recently wrapped his 22nd season.
Dag, he looks like he's 27.
I know. And I was telling Julia, our producer, that I've been watching that show since it came on. I'm that old. And I remember when he came on. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, they hiring these young brothers on the Saturday Night Live. Okay. And he is the show's longest running cast member. So without any further ado, the man who's coming here dressed for the vineyard, Kenan Thompson.
Kenan. It's like Cousin Kenan.
That's right.
What's up,
Don't bump your head.
Hi. You look so fresh.
Brother, man.
So fresh and so
fresh
clean.
for y'all. Pleasure.
You look so fresh and so clean.
You know,
that's
I
want to
go
color.
to the vineyard.
Oh, okay. All right. Get your ferry ticket.
You know, they have the little ones with the cars.
They have they do. So, have you ever been to the vineyard?
I went for Seth Meyers' wedding. That was like the one time I went. It was really nice.
Yeah, it's lovely. Really nice. It's lovely.
I rented this like yellow, I think Camaro. So I was just
you were
you
top
bright
down?
Yellow, kind of oblivious to the fact that people will notice me. But yeah, I was sticking out a little bit on that one. It was fun though.
It's like, is that Kenan in that yellow car?
I mean, I want to live life, you know.
Yeah, you have
to live
top down
life. On the vineyard.
Yeah. But that means you have to like find some time to have a vacation.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often.
Yeah,
but, you know, that was a good one.
Yeah. Well, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's so nice to see the two of you in person.
And it's good to see you in person, to meet you. I really do feel like I know you.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get that a lot where people are like, man, I feel like we know each other. But
I've been in y'all's face for a long time.
You have. At all different levels, too, because you got the kid audience that grew up with you. Because our kids, Malia and Sasha, by the time they were watching you, I wasn't watching TV with them. Right? You get to that age where it's like, okay,
that's
you're on your own.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you do. And, but.
Yeah. Enough of that Mickey Mouse in the background.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
But my older kids grew up with you. They're just a little bit younger than you are. But my younger kids only know you from Saturday Night Live. They're 15 and 13.
Interesting.
Yeah. And we let them watch a little Saturday Night Live before.
And what do they think?
Yes, that's a good.
What do they think about the show or about you?
Both.
Yeah, do you?
I would love to hear both.
Saturday Night Live.
Well, it's thanks to Malia. I started letting them watch R-rated stuff. So Malia,
they were very strict parental parents in terms of viewing.
No PG-13,
and their older cousin thought that was ridiculous and told them that they needed to be doing more sneaking by now. They should.
Always them cousins.
She's the cousin.
It is them cousins.
And kids influence each other the most. Oh goodness.
Cousins.
But that's what cousins are for.
That's what she felt. She felt like she needed to inform them that they shouldn't always be listening to their parents.
And thank God it was family, as opposed to like some folks down the street. You know what I mean?
Malia of all people. Malia.
Yeah, but it's a little
I could see if it was Sasha, but Malia.
I mean, but they're 15 and
13.
That's what
13.
Malia's point was.
It's about that time.
It's time.
You want them to be street smart.
Yeah, we do because they've grown up a little differently than we are.
Exactly. And
we did.
You want to give them that as well, kind of thing, because you want to spoil them, because you work hard and it's like, I'm working hard to give these things to you, but then you see that they might not be appreciating it as much, so you got to pull back some.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But it's all leading up to those Rivian times, like you get back to a reunited person and y'all have a conversation and it's like, look at this fully formed, totally separate, adult human being kind of thing. Yeah. Or approaching adulthood kind of thing.
How old are your daughters now?
The little one is turning 7 in a couple days and the big one's 11. Yeah. They're getting big on me.
Yeah.
I don't have babies anymore.
I know. But see, that's why you're in that deep parenting mode. You know, I mean, you see how
Super
quickly
duper.
You see it rolled off his tongue about
because
the
that's
accountability.
all you were thinking about, right? I mean,
24/7 for the last 11
forget Kenan
years.
Thompson, Saturday Night Live. You're just like, look at these two people growing up in front of my face.
Absolutely. It's the greatest thing in the world. You know, it's literally witnessing miracles, you know?
Yeah.
So it's the best thing I've ever done, in my opinion. You know, other people look at my work on television, but for me, looking outwards always, like, they're the greatest, you know? Sweethearts.
What's been the hardest part of being because you have two girls?
Yeah. I think waiting on the turn, and, you know, like right now they're like very sweet. And they're nice to their mom.
You've heard about
most of the time,
turn, huh?
And I've heard about that turn that could happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen.
Sometimes it doesn't.
You know, or sometimes it's quick and they come back around, you know, pretty quickly, you know, kind of hoping for that.
Here's the thing. Like, you know, I always say, to the minute they show up,
right,
you're preparing them for the turn. Right.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff. Like sometimes people as parents, they're like, well, I'll wait until you're 20.
Right.
And I'll start talking to you about the things I'm worried about, or I'll start worrying about your attitude. But it's every day.
Yeah.
What kinds of things are you working on as a father today that's going to prepare them?
I mean, it just telling them and reminding them that they're a family. You know what I mean? They're so competitive with each other, you know, and that's fine to be have a competitive nature and this, that, and the other. But I want to remind them that this is what you have. This sibling bond that you have is very strong. It's probably the strongest on the planet, you know. But if you don't use it the correct way, or if you waste it, or if you just, you know, waste the young years and, you know, you don't get to know each other until later. I just don't want them wasting time arguing over who gets to sit where in the car or who gets to press what elevator. But you know what I mean? I always want to remind them that y'all should love each other. You know, family is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to stay connected like that. Because me and my siblings are close, you know, and I'm a witness to what it's like to be able to live long life with your siblings and have people that support you, you know, no matter what kind of thing. You know, I'm witnessing you too. Like, it's a beautiful thing.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have one of each.
Yeah. What was growing up like?
I'm from Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah. Southern boy.
South Side, yes, indeed. Right by the airport. Grew up with my manners, you know, large extended family, lots of cousins.
You grew up with your manners?
I grew up with my manners, ma'am.
Well, you look like you
I
grew
didn't know
up
what
with
to
your
call
manners.
you. I was like, Miss
Call
Madam
me
Lady,
Michelle.
Your Grace.
Wait. Let's see. Call her Michelle.
Michelle. It's tough.
It's hard.
It's tough.
You should.
If you
know.
like that, though. We want to call you Madame Obama. We want to call you Empress.
Right.
We want to call you all kinds of things.
You can call me
Michelle,
anything
thank
after
you for the grace
kneel.
to call you that.
Yes.
Yeah. Did I miss the kneel? I didn't do the kneel. But yeah, no. It's a beautiful thing. My parents are from small town Virginia, Lynchburg, if you ever heard of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, all my cousins, extended family from around that area, and spent a lot of summers growing up there. So I have a perspective of, you know, what it's like to maybe not have grown up with a lot of opportunity kind of thing.
And at what age? I mean, you got started so young. When did you feel like, oh, I think I want to do this?
Pretty early. Probably my first paycheck, like, I started acting when I was 5, doing theater and stuff like that.
And you knew you wanted to do that?
I enjoyed it, but when I was like 11, I did a commercial. That was like a real job. And then they paid me like $800. And I was like, at 11 years old, that might as well have been $1 million.
Sure.
Really?
So I was like, yeah, I like this. You know, 'cause I had cut grass and stuff before, and it's $20 a yard, you know, and that's a lot of work for $20 if you can actually sign that house up. You know, you got to walk the neighborhood with your mom. It's hot in Atlanta. So, like, I knew work.
Yeah.
And
I didn't like it. Set.
Yeah, and treats and snacks.
And treats. What was the commercial? The first one?
It was for this fried chicken restaurant called Lee's Famous Country Recipe Chicken.
Ooh,
too long.
Mouthful.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you an outlier? I mean, were the kids in your group all, rehearsing in plays, or were you one of one in your
Yeah, I mean, my brother and I kind of started together. Okay. You know, we both went to like Sears to get our headshots done. I remember that.
It's Sears.
Yeah,
the headshots at Sears.
Folks don't know about Sears.
Real.
Sears Roebuck.
Man, you get your tires changed.
And I think this was Sears Outlet, which was even further.
Yeah, because
That's right.
But you remember the Sears catalog? Christmas catalog, man.
Yes.
Yeah, it went from this to this.
To back to
that was bathroom reading.
Pages
bathroom
coupons ish. Coupons ish. They kind of just showing you what they got. Yeah.
So
this is before the internet. Yeah.
Headshots at Sears.
And I think borrowed sweaters. Like I think we put the sweaters back after the photo shoot. Yeah.
From the rack.
I
feel like I have that
we're just trying these on. Baby,
gangster.
No haircuts.
That's gangster.
So the first headshots was very spiky little afros.
Yeah.
Adorable though. You know, I thought we were two cute little kids. And then my brother grew up and went to like college and became cool, you know. And then I stayed kind of in it. And yeah, that's how it kind of started. But
were you able to have like a normal childhood? Were you still playing outside, or when did it change?
I think kind of a great version of a child actor story, because I didn't really start working until I was like 15. You know, so I was kind of already up there as far as knowing who I am as a person. And
at 15,
you know,
listen to you.
Ish, you know what I mean? Like I know my values, my manners, this, that, and the other, and I'm ready to like go out in the world and like figure out if I can start, you know, working or start towards a career, whatever that might mean. So.
This segment is presented by Progressive Insurance, because true progress starts when people are empowered with the knowledge and support to take bold steps forward. And, you know, being prepared always made me feel really good. And I think back to the times when I was coaching, whether it was as an assistant coach at Northwestern or a head coach at Brown or Oregon State. Whenever my teams were prepared, I always went into the game feeling like we had a more than 80% chance to win the game. And it is amazing how when you hit all the notes in practice, the games are easy.
Yeah, that makes it fun. I mean, when I realized the importance of preparation in making something hard fun was actually in law school when I had my first moot court competition.
Ooh.
And yeah, it was daunting, but I didn't really know what it was. It was first year, everybody had to compete in moot court. And I for the practice, because you got an opportunity to practice, and you were actually making a case, a closing argument. It was a criminal case. And I think I was representing the defense. My partner was representing the prosecution, if I have it right. And we had to present our closing arguments to the jury. So instead of preparing, I didn't have time. So I thought, well, I'll go in and I'll wing it, right? And you were taped. And I got to watch how bad I was taped when I wasn't prepared. And it was probably the most painful experience for me to watch myself on tape not be prepared. And I think that was probably the first and last time that I decided to wing it. And I understood that, you know, and I also found out that when I did prepare for the actual moot court trial, it was more fun, just like you said, because then you can flow. Same thing with the big speech. You know, if when I'm prepared for a big speech, if I know what I'm saying, if I've gone over the process, if I know what it feels like to stand in front of the podium, to get a feel for how the mic sounds, to get used to the lights and the sounds, then the speech can just flow. So preparation for me has always been a part of not just showing up right, but enjoying the process along the way.
Until your brother walks up next to you and says, the left prompter is out.
Well, yeah, that was our famous story. In the first big speech, national speech I had at the first Democratic National Convention, where you introduced me, and we had teleprompters. And
we had practiced. We were prepared. It was great.
But one of the prompters went out in the middle of your introduction. So when it was time for me to come on stage, the crowds are going wild. I come up to give you a hug, and I think you're going to whisper something inspirational in my ear, like, I love you. I'm so proud of you. Instead, you said left prompter out, and then you were gone. And I was like, oh, what? That was strange. But I couldn't react because I was on national TV until I got to the podium and realized, oh my God, the prompter to the left was out. But because I was prepared.
You were prepared. It didn't mean anything.
Didn't matter at all.
Didn't matter. Yeah. and even though it doesn't look like it when we're doing this podcast, because we're just flowing back and forth, it takes a lot of preparation for us.
Takes a little work to show up on camera.
It takes a lot of work. But I tell you, there's no blueprint for becoming a homeowner. But the truth is, preparation is just part of the path to ownership. Thankfully, Progressive is helping people own that process through helpful resources and educational tools that make sense of the journey. And thanks to a $7 million commitment to housing initiatives in 2024, along with this year's new down payment assistance program called the Up Payment, Progressive is helping more people prepare, purchase, and build a foundation for the future. Whether you're just starting to dream about home ownership or already deep in the planning process, Progressive is here to guide you from the first question to the front door. Visit progressive.com/openthehouse to explore tools, guidance, and support that can help turn your dream into a reality.
When you first were famous, was that the Nickelodeon years, or?
Yeah. I think Good Burger kicked it in a high gear. I mean, Mighty Ducks was cool, but that was more so about like the Mighty Ducks. And then like Heavyweights was, kind of a cultural kind of thing, like, a little cult following kind of movie.
Yeah.
But Good Burger was ours. It started on our show, and it was the first movie that came from our show, and we were both in it, me and Kel, and that was my brother and is my brother.
Yeah.
And, we just had such a good time. We were 18 at that time, so we were like, yes, bring this all on now, please.
Now, where were your parents on all of this? How did they feel? Did you feel like they were watching? Were they engaged as you were going through this process?
Very supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom was my main pusher, my main foundational, because she was the type of person that got a job at my theater school so I could take classes there. So she's that person. And I remember we drove to Charlotte for an audition that I didn't get. We came back the same day and she was like, "Don't worry about it. We'll be on the next one." So shout out to all the parents that are really supporting their kids' dreams and endeavors, even if you don't know where it's headed, because we didn't know where it was headed. It was just something that I wanted to do on top of everything else. Like I was still playing sports and playing music and all kind of stuff, but I didn't have rock star dreams necessarily. I maybe had football dreams, but I was little, still. And everybody else was turning into monsters by 9th, 10th grade. It was starting to get real. Especially in the good old Fed South Side.
Down south.
It's like, I'm not going in there with them.
Yeah, these are real beasts.
There's some real dudes down there.
Just kid beasts. But I always enjoyed performing, and I couldn't stop it.
Did you ever have a point in time before, when you were young in your career, where you did get a little bit of a big head? I mean,
oh yeah.
What was that like?
I was very kind of naively cocky, going into certain auditions. Like I remember when I auditioned for the Mighty Ducks, they asked if I could skate, and I was like, "Yeah, I can roller skate." Couldn't roller skate at all, but it was just one of those they say put special skills at the bottom of the resume to make it look nicer and make you look more interesting. So I'm like,
special.
I've been roller skating, so I'll put that down there. I remember I used to fall 2 feet up roller skating. You know what I mean? Real
you
bad
would have
falls.
Epic falls.
Yeah, super duper.
You weren't even close to being able to skate.
But thank God they taught me, how to play. And I can, skate to this day. But just one of those things that you just gotta, kind of try to make yourself a little more appealing, if that's not necessarily the case, kind of thing,
Yeah, but that's not a bad story.
Stretching. We call it stretching.
It's still stretching, but that's not. That's just that.
That's harmless.
That's a tactic.
But that's easily figured out, though.
No, I know, but to me, that doesn't qualify as you.
Job, but I was willing to take that risk.
But if you having a big head, or going, that means you're a hustler.
Sorry, back to that part. Yes. When after Mighty Ducks, I thought I was a movie star, Okay. So I was like, after one kid movie where my character kind of helped save the day, not necessarily the only, but I'm the hero, I'm the hero of the sequel of the Mighty Ducks. So that means I'm in the game, So when I auditioned for all that, it was a different approach to it because I was introduced to the producers as opposed to being herded in. So it was like a meeting, what I mean? So I'm like, this is over with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they meet with me, bro. What we talking about? We might as well just go and grab lunch or something. It's over. I got this. And I just was like, what y'all need? Y'all need a Jamaican? Y'all need an old man? I just threw him out there like it was nothing. But I think that confidence was something that was appealing to them. It was like, oh, he's kind of ready to perform. We don't have to worry about stage fright, I guess, or something like that. So, I was a little naive on that one, but it helped because I do get very nervous. I still get nervous for every show.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I was like trying to talk to different people about it, especially for stand-up. That's why I don't do stand-up because it stresses me out.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a gig, that's all I'm thinking of the whole day.
Can't sleep,
or days out, you know? I can't not focus on that. And then, if I travel to a town, I ain't going out in the town, I'm just in the hotel, pacing around, watching TV, writing things, just taking the time away. And it just feels so wasteful. So that's obviously not my thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you have been the longest running cast member of SNL. That's the most terrifying thing. Yeah. People have asked me to do a lot of things. You see, I've been on talk shows. I've done skits with people. But SNL, I would never do that.
That's wild. Because to me, it is
terrifying. Just what you described to me, I wouldn't sleep that week. I'd be worrying. I'd be worrying about looking at the camera. I don't know how you all do that.
Yeah, and my heart goes out to that because I know that feeling, but I just don't have it there because I'm very comfortable there. I mean, we did a lot of sketches growing up, and then the live factor doesn't bother me much because it's a large group of people doing it together. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people getting you to where you need to be, and all I got to do is read the words. I can do that. I can stay focused enough and deliver my part of it. And then there's so many people helping you get to that point. And you have to write yourself to that point. Yes, that's another tough part of it. But the actual show, once it's at that point, it doesn't stress me going to yucks and having to do 17 minutes
Say it's
of
all on you.
I hate waiting in lines or, what is with these, the TSA, I just don't make fun of stuff.
Go back to, you have to write yourself. What does that mean?
We write on SNL. Yeah. So the best way to make yourself known there is to write for yourself in the beginning, so you have to
write your own skits,
for better or for worse, put yourself out there so people can kind of see what your sense of humor is or what you'd like to focus on. I was lucky that I was able to balance it more with performance than writing, and I would write with a lot of people, but anytime I wrote on my own, it went all over the place. I have a hard time staying linear or whatever. I'll just be writing based on what's on my mind at the time, and then when I look back at it, I'm like, come on.
This
makes no sense. Martin Luther King talking to Jay-Z? That doesn't happen. When does that happen? It'll never happen.
And where is it going?
Where is that point?
Where's it going to end?
Yeah, no.
So when you first got on Saturday Night Live, do you have to go on as a writer or how did it work? Tell us about the process.
There's some people that get hired as either a writer or a cast member.
Okay.
And when you get hired in the beginning, you are a repertory player, I think. Okay. So that's a 2-year kind of staging process, and then you become a full player.
Okay.
If I'm
when
getting
do you
the terms right.
Have your face on the opening credits and come popping out of New York smoking a cigarette?
Hey, in New York.
That's when do you get to be
as soon as you get hired as a cast member. Yeah. So if you get in the cast, you get a title in the beginning, and you get to do your.
Was that a big deal?
Around.
Was that for you when you were?
Huge deal. And it was hard to comprehend it still being the same show that I grew up watching because now I'm on it. And I'm
I thought this was serious comedy, but they hired
me. Yeah, and I was 25, so I was young, and like I was ready to do kind of whatever, but it was just very surreal. You know, it was hard to see it as the same kind of place. And then I was like worried. I'm like, have I changed it forever? Like, am I really worthy of this? You know what I mean? Because like I don't write. You know what I mean? And I don't know what my sense of humor is. Like, I don't know what my point of view is as opposed, you know, when you approach comedy or whatever. Like, what am I trying to say with my jokes? I don't know. Like, I'm used to like playing around in chocolate. You know what I'm saying? Like, just doing whatever. And like, now I have to be serious and like, you know, do college kind of educated material. And I didn't finish college. But, you know,
you were busy.
Whatever. I was a little bit busy.
You were working already.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about it.
Yeah, that's why people go to college.
Yeah, exactly. To try to figure it out.
Right,
but I had it figured out and it was in my way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it took me a while to figure out how to write sketches.
Did you have a mentor on the show that sort of like, hey, Kenan, this is how you go about getting to the next level?
I mean,
because I hear you do that for people.
If they ask, I try to be there for people because I remember being very lost in the beginning. Yes, because you know a lot of people come from improv houses or they come from stand up. You know, two big communal worlds basically where they're not by themselves. Not a lot of people come from already being an actor or already being a kid's performer or anything and just being an actor. You know, most people are like real comics that like wind up getting hired there and like are always like hyper focused on it. So they know it very well. They've shared stories or they read the books. You know, like I went into it just blind, you know, based on what I had been watching on TV or whatever, not knowing how small the studio was, not knowing much about Manhattan, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And it was just like a tornado of learning everything on the fly. And it's like college. Not everybody's just going to pull you aside and teach you how to do it. But Tracy Morgan was a real one from day one. I love him. This is my brother.
Yeah.
He was just like in his own kind of way telling us little tidbits like, don't peek at dress.
What? Oh, don't peek at dress. Oh, okay.
That's a good golden nugget.
Yeah.
Because, the live show is what matters. You know what I'm saying? So if you peek at dress, it's like, you kind of just wasted it a little bit, you know? And like, you don't really have that luxury to do that in your first few years, you know, because everybody is trying to do their very best, you know, because this is the life-changing job. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you do it well, it can change your life. If you do it bad, it can change your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was a lot of stress. And I see the stress on newcomers, you know what I'm saying? So I always try to be like a friendly ear, or if I see things, you know, when we're rehearsing stuff, I try to suggest, you know, maybe like this shot should be this, or you know, maybe like, what about this idea? And like, I'm always trying to like participate in, you know, helping others' sketches, you know, get as good as they can be, you know, just try to be helpful basically. Because when you're stressing like that, you're not thinking clearly. You know what I mean? You're not relaxed enough to be funny almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so how do you relax to be funny? You know, what's your tip? I will never do SNL. If I were going to do SNL,
I think you could do it because I think you would recognize the communal push uphill, which is the show. We're all trying to push the show to the top of the hill every single week, you know, and everybody is hyper focused and committed to the same goal, you know, no matter what their politics might be or whatever. Everybody is respectful of the place. It's almost like a temple, you know what I mean? And like, there's nobody trying to make it go left at all.
Nobody wants anyone to fail.
At all. You know, and I think once you settle into that warmth, I think you start to embrace the only thing that matters is kind of what makes you laugh. You know what I mean? And it's not really about anything else because it's your night.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to make your night as special as possible, which is like, I love that. I grew up very ensemble-minded. So like, I'm all about let somebody else have the shine and I will help that shine be as bright as possible. Like, I love that.
You like just sitting here for the listeners, the watchers, you're just such a regular dude.
Yes.
You know?
Taurus in the house.
Yeah, Taurus.
Shout out
to
the May Tauruses, the real ones.
Okay, enough.
The real ones.
Enough. whatever.
Yes.
Man,
you're welcome.
You're
welcome.
Watch yourself over there, Capricorn.
It's okay. I'm going to take back my compliments.
It's okay.
See, this is what I have to deal with since she was 4.
Remember that y'all love each other. Y'all remember, y'all siblings.
Taking back her compliments. Hey, everybody. Craig Robinson here. And you guys have heard me talk a lot about how much I love staying in Airbnbs. Well, our family is planning a trip out to the West Coast to visit our daughter. And we were thinking, man, it's going to be hard to roll up in her 2-bedroom apartment with 6 people. So we decided to get an Airbnb where we could all hang out comfortably. We'll have more bedrooms. We don't have to fight over bathrooms. There'll be a kitchen. We can cook out if we want. So my wife, Kelly, found the perfect place for us using Airbnb's guest favorites. We're staying close to my daughter's place, which means we can spend more time with her and easily get out into the city. We get a chance to tour LA, take her to her favorite restaurant, drop by Universal, let the kids play around for a day, or we could go by Griffith Observatory, which is the place I've always wanted to see. If you're starting to think about your next trip, check out Airbnb's guest favorites. Guest favorites are the most loved homes on Airbnb by other guests. This episode of IMO is brought to you by Cologuard, a non-invasive colon cancer screening test. Currently, the American Cancer Society recommends that if you are at average risk, you should begin screening for colon cancer at age 45. There are an estimated 60 million adults aged 45 plus in America who are not up to date with their colon cancer screening. So we need to change that by spreading the word about another option. The Cologuard test can help you put your health first and feel more in control of your colon cancer screening process. This easy-to-use screening test is delivered right to your door and allows you to collect a sample comfortably at home, on your own schedule. The sample is shipped back to the lab for testing and results are available within 8 to 10 days. It's simple, but the best part about the Cologuard test is that it allows you to start screening for colon cancer without all the hassle of preparing for a colonoscopy. So you don't have to prep the day before. And by prep, I mean fasting and drinking all that liquid. You get to skip the stress of having to request off work, go under anesthesia, get a ride home, and all the other hassles that come with an invasive procedure. And in addition to its convenience, Cologuard is also affordable. Most insured patients find they pay nothing out of pocket. With zero downtime, no special preparation, and a screening test that's delivered right to your door, let's start prioritizing our health. So, if you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a Cologuard prescription today at Cologuard.com/podcast. The Cologuard test is intended to screen adults 45 and older at average risk for colorectal cancer. Do not use a Cologuard test if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colorectal cancer. The Cologuard test is not a replacement for a colonoscopy in high-risk patients. Cologuard test performance in adults ages 45 to 49 is estimated based on a large clinical study of patients 50 and older. False positives and false negatives can occur. Cologuard is available by prescription only. This episode of IMO is brought to you by Progressive Insurance, who help people move forward and live fully. Owning a home can be one of the most powerful ways to build financial security. But for many, especially first-generation buyers, it can feel out of reach. That's why I appreciate what Progressive is doing. In 2024, they contributed over $7 million to help individuals and families break the cycle of renting by providing support, offering educational resources, and developing tools to build long-term financial stability through home ownership.
Their work goes beyond just insurance. They're opening doors. Through their newly created Up Payment program, Progressive is helping first-generation homebuyers move closer to the dream of home ownership by offering eligible applicants a chance to receive a down payment assistance grant. You know, owning a home for me made me feel grounded and also set me up for the future. And as a coach, when your life is dependent on wins and losses, it's really important to have the comfort of a really nice home to come home to, especially for your family. Home ownership is one of the biggest investments you'll ever make, and Progressive wants to help more.
Any memorable favorite sketches that, like when people ask you what are some of your favorite sketches?
Mine?
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, Scared Straight was my first love because it was the first idea that I had personally that made it on the show.
Makes me.
And it just still goes. And I can't believe they picked it for the 50th.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a special.
Great.
And Eddie and Will Ferrell, crazy. So that was a very, very special moment because that was like the first thing that I loved and I had an idea about that actually was transferable to the show kind of thing. I had a lot of things before that just made no sense or they were just a little too obvious or been done before, there's a lot of lineage there, especially as far as Black culture is concerned. Like how many times can you do a person in an afro? How many times can you do this? So figuring it out was, it took me 5 years. Scared Straight didn't come to my 5th season.
Wow.
It took me a while. And then What's Up With That, of course. What's Up With That? Family Feuds, Black Jeopardy, all the good Black stuff,
Yeah.
What's it like having your face in the world? I mean, how do you get about? How has it, look, we live in a bubble. We were raised just like you, me more so. I'm in a bubble, me and my husband. That's not how we were raised. We believe in the same thing that, it's a lot. Every time we moved up somewhere, we brought our community with us.
Right.
A lot of it selfishly because it's no fun being in the White House with no friends.
Right.
Or to be there with people you didn't really know. They didn't come there with you. They didn't help you get there.
You ever think about changing the name?
Obama. What would you pick, Kenan? What do you think?
Call it the Black House, man. Just for a little while. Just for a little while.
Just
That's
for a
all.
little while. It hadn't crossed our mind.
Really?
It hadn't. It hadn't.
Yeah. That's because y'all good.
You're right.
Yeah.
We're good.
Y'all nice people.
Good people.
Right.
Hadn't thought about it.
Yeah.
But it's, it changes the way you have to live.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. And I'm just wondering what of those changes, what have been the hardest changes for you, especially given
it's invasive, you know? It's invasive and it's tougher for me when it's tough on other people that are around me that get affected kind of thing. I'm a man out here. I can handle, whatever is coming my way because I feel like I'm putting myself in those positions. But when people get it by default necessarily, just for, being associated, it's... that's when it starts to bother me more so than anything because, I don't want to impede on other people. I don't want to be a burden or, cause strife where strife wasn't necessarily there at first kind of thing. And it's terrible to be the cause of stress, So that bothers me, especially, in public when people come up, and, they want to take pictures and blah, blah, blah. I'm usually cordial unless I'm with my little ones and then I feel like that's their time. And that's the only time where I'm a little standoffish or whatever. But even when I see it's, bothering the intent of the day, we're trying to go to a museum or whatever, then I'll just ask for people not to do that because it's bothering someone else kind of thing. But for me, New York is good for that. I can put my hat on and I can just walk and be amongst the millions.
True.
You know what I mean?
True.
Some people recognize and, they say, what's up? The real ones. Shout out to all the FedEx delivery dudes. But, people like that are, just feet on the ground. They'll see you and they'll say, what's up? But I've never been one of those people that people need to flock towards and start pulling at necessarily. A lot of people just say, hey, and keep it moving. Or they'll say, thank you. Or we love you. My family loves you, and they'll keep it moving. But there are other places where, it gets excessive, certain settings. Like Disney World is a setting where families are in the mode to like do for their children. So they want to get picked. They want to do, they want to introduce, they don't care about boundaries at that point. You're like, you here.
Like we meeting Mickey Mouse.
We here, right.
And so my baby's getting a picture with Mickey Mouse.
It's just better to just embrace it in those moments, as opposed to trying to be like, let us have our space. Because then I start feeling bad. Like I usually walk away from awkward encounters. And I think I live with it more than they do almost. You know what I mean? Because I think people just, go about their daily lives. But I'm always just like, man, are they going to hate me for
Did I ruin somebody's vacation?
You know what I mean? Like, and some days you just not in the mood, You're just not in the mood to be famous kind of thing. Like I just have too much going on to like smile through it kind of stuff. And I just need to process sometimes. And if you run into me on those days, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? But it happens.
Yeah.
And if you allow yourself those days, it's not that hard to like pull the rubber band back the other direction and just like take a deep breath.
Suck it up. You can do this.
What I mean? And just let's attack the day.
Yeah.
And then, when you are ready and people don't notice, that's when it's like, oh, see? You know what I'm saying? Like when you're like, you want somebody to say like, nice outfit, ain't nobody paying attention to you. So be grateful.
We were talking about, and with some of the crew, we were talking about how this business just chews up and spits out people in general, but particularly young people who start young. And you've been able to sort of dodge those minefields. But now we're sitting here talking to you, it makes perfect sense. Like you have a way about you that you were raised right and continue to live right, so you just stay out of trouble.
Yeah. I mean, trouble gonna find you. If you stay out, if you stay looking for it, trouble gonna come your way. No, I mean, I'm relaxed. I'm 47 at this point, so I ain't really like out there just running around wild looking for chaos like I was when I was in my proving years of being 19 and 20 and feeling invincible kind of thing. I would much rather Netflix and chill than, turn all the way up. But turning up is fun as well, but I have a good balance now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand, what I got to do the next day. I got to check my calendars before I go out now. I used to just go running out the door whenever it was time kind of thing. But now it's like, oh man, I got that Zoom. And Zoom at 10:30 is going to be tough.
But it's always a Zoom. It's like, you better have some sleep, some water, hydrate.
At least I can just be in my shirt for the Zoom. But I got to be in my shirt. I got to actually show up.
What is turn up Kenan like?
Like anybody that grew up in Atlanta,
I don't know.
We standing on top of tables.
Trying to
y'all from Chicago,
I'm just trying to figure it out.
We turn on top of tables. There's sparkles everywhere. We popping bottles.
Shiny.
We standing on top of, and there's thousands of us. You know what I mean? Like that's just how it is. Like I grew up in the hip hop, so it's hip hop culture basically, and just in Atlanta there was a whole lot of standing around, I guess, because it was probably dangerous to just be one of those people that gets like noticed necessarily. You become a target or whatever. So. Mostly holding the wall, which means just standing on the wall and kind of like, people watching, basically kind of stuff. I'm not a big dancer necessarily.
You're
but
not?
I dance in place.
You got like one move?
I got a few.
Okay.
But it's in place. It's not like I need to clear the dance floor and show everybody.
It's just, got more in the shoulders.
And like, there's one hip dip.
Okay, you got one hip dip in there.
There's a hip dip in there.
Well, when you come to the vineyard, we're going to have to see your hip dip.
Yeah, I mean, I'll show it. Like, it's just special occasions. But like in the club, it's different. Yeah. Usually it's not enough space to even like do all of that. Everybody's like, what are you doing?
Have you gotten to the point where I don't want to stand? Like, I can't.
You don't stand no more? You
just
sit down in the club? You sit down in the club?
I don't go to the club because if I have to stand, and the notion of watching a concert standing up.
You sit down at the concert.
I have to. I'm 61. I need a seat.
Let her sit down and rest.
That's what I feel like.
And then you can take
it. I have less enjoyment. Here's an IMO.
Less enjoyment. There's less enjoyment.
Here's an IMO.
Yep.
No one should stand up through an entire concert. In my opinion, everyone should sit down.
Sit down,
everyone.
And sit back down, and then get up for the moment. Yeah.
But then
some people
don't get
stand
up
up
for
the
the
whole
moment.
time.
And now it's like, now I got to stand up too.
And I was about to say, what do you do when people stand up in front of you? Do you just continue to sit? Or do you ask them to
You have to stand up. You have to stand up.
You can't ask them to sit down.
People to sit down. You
It's
have to
a
stand up,
concert.
and then I want to see.
Yeah.
So
At
now I
sporting
got
events,
it.
you
But
know what I
I
mean?
will have a period of trying to sit.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a period where I'm going to try and sit.
Just sit
I'm
for a little
going to
bit.
see if I can just encourage everyone.
Sit for
You
a little
notice
while.
how I'm sitting?
Yeah.
Can we all just go back to doing this?
Does it work?
No, it doesn't. And
Come
then
on,
I have
man.
to get up.
Come
But-
on.
Well, we
Are you at that stage yet?
I do enjoy sitting through most of it. But I think things should have levels, you know? So, like, I'm not just going to stand the whole time. And I'm also worried that people can see. Like, I'm very conscious of that. A lot of people ain't...
You're
this
so
just bothers me.
considerate.
I'm trying to
he's
be.
a Taurus.
Oh,
Which is what
man.
bothers me
Yes.
so much
Why-
about, like, traffic. I be going crazy in traffic because
Okay.
people can be so inconsiderate.
Yeah.
They can.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And, like, when people
my
are standing
motorcade
around, like, I
going,
get it. It's a
"My
sporting
God."
thing. But, like, you know, come on. Come on. So does it take you forever to get everywhere, or is it pretty quick
In New York,
in New York?
I mean, it doesn't make sense to have a motorcade in New York.
Yeah,
I know it sounds that's a
tough.
crazy statement.
It's almost
Never thought
impossible.
I'd make it, but no, it's really that's what makes New York
Yeah.
not so much fun.
Right.
Because you're watching people walk faster than you.
Yeah.
It's like I saw him.
Yeah.
Like he left 2 hours
Yeah.
before and
Forget
he beat
about
us
us people
there.
on the bikes.
That's right.
We go everywhere. Yeah.
Oh, you ride in New York? You ride your
Mhm.
bike in New York? You, Kenan, are on
Yeah.
a bike in New York
That
City.
sounds a
Yes.
little dangerous.
One of those electric bikes? Or are you
I
pedaling
mean,
like a human
we get city
being?
bikes sometimes, but I have my own bike. Yes, and we cycle, but we like there's the bike path, you know,
Yes,
which is on
well,
the
that's-
outside.
yes.
I'm like I did the thing through the streets
Mhm.
and actually like hit somebody and broke my arm years ago.
You did?
Yeah, which is actually
you
the
hit a
same.
car? Tell us
I-
about this.
So it was like I had a lunch that was like a few blocks away from the studio. So I was like, all right,
so
I'll just
you were
grab
a
bike.
grown person
Yeah. This was
with a job.
not too long. This was when the Orange Man hosted last, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So
Ooh.
it was that week. It was like a Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
So like I was like, we make our own schedule kind of on Tuesday
Yeah,
because
yeah.
our writing deadline is Wednesday morning. So like got all day. So like I'll go to a little lunch and then I'll go to work. And the lunch was like 9 blocks, 4 or 5 avenues. I was like, I'll grab a bike, take a bike, ride in on one of the streets. So in New York, there's not a lot of space when you're on the streets. On the avenues is different, but on the streets it's like parking, traffic. So there really ain't no space to
You
just be
weaving
doing
in
anything.
and out.
Yeah.
Mhm. I watched that from my motorcade
Yeah,
and think this looks
exactly.
dangerous.
So I'm just like riding down in between, traffic and parked cars or whatever. And of course, this guy just came flopping up out of nowhere.
Mhm.
And then I hit him with, one of the handlebars. Like I didn't like crash and flip over necessarily, but I hit him enough to make me fall down. And then like, I was like, man, it hurt, whatever, but I could still move my arm. So I was like, all right, I'll just
Get
ride
back
to
on my
work.
bike.
It was a little numb, but, as the time, as the blood started feeling, like that pain started setting in, and like 15-ish, 20-ish minutes later, I was at my desk, kind of. So I made it to work, but like then I started like not being able to move my arm. And like I remember that feeling because I had broke this arm when I was a kid. I broke my wrist, but this was like my elbow. And I was like,
And you older.
snap. And I'm older.
It's an old elbow.
And we got a show to do.
Oh.
Like it's a Tuesday.
This episode of IMO is brought to you in part by Acorns. One of the most valuable pieces of money advice I've ever gotten is that financial wellness isn't about how much you make. It's about making the most of what you have. That's something I've carried with me from my time on Wall Street to today. And that's why I love Acorns. Acorns is a financial wellness app that makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns recommends a diversified portfolio that can help you weather all the market's ups and downs. You just need to stick with it. And Acorns makes that easy. Acorns automatically invest your money, giving it a chance to grow with time. The best advice I've gotten was from my father, and that was to pay yourself first. So sign up now and join over 14 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested $25 billion with Acorns. Plus, Acorns will boost your new account with a $20 bonus investment. Offer only available at acorns.com/IMO. That's acorns.com/IMO to get your $20 bonus investment today. From Acorns, mighty oaks do grow. Investing doesn't have to be complicated. Acorns makes it easy to invest for your future, plan for tomorrow, and spend smarter today. Paid non-client endorsement compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors/LLC and SCC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/IMO.
Hey gang, Craig Robinson here. Talking about Amazon today. Has absolutely everything for everyone on your list. And with their early holiday deals, you can get a head start no matter who you're shopping for. And let me tell you, I am going to be completely honest with you. I'm the guy who waits until the last minute. But it's because I've been shopping for these people my whole lives. But with Amazon's early holiday deals, that means I can shop for everybody right now. I mean, my kids, they seem to be growing out of their clothes. They want the latest video games. I can get it on Amazon. My older kids could use stuff for their respective homes. I can get it on Amazon. My wife, my sister, the hardest people for me to shop for. But hey, don't worry. I don't have to guess. Amazon's got deals on everything. Electronics, toys, fashions, home goods, you name it. So whether it's your mom you're shopping for or your coworker or that neighbor down the street who always shows up with a nice gift for you, you're covered. And listen, shopping early means I'm done before all of the holiday chaos even starts, which, if you ask me, is the best gift of all to myself. So everything for everyone on your list, Amazon's got it. Shop Amazon early holiday deals now. You'll save big. You're perfect for our listener question.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's about parenting.
Okay.
And are you ready for our listener question?
Yes.
All right. So Julia, our producer, is going to read the question.
Okay, Julia.
Comes from Sandy from New Jersey.
Hi, Michelle and Craig. I have a 12-year-old daughter who's obsessed with YouTube. We try to limit her screen time, especially as she's reaching those vulnerable preteen years and teen years. But one thing she will not let go of is her desire to be an influencer. It's weird for me because it feels like she wants to be famous for famous' sake. I'm hopeful that this is a childhood thing, like me wanting to be an astronaut or a TV star as a kid. But still, I'd want her to follow her own intellectual interests or think about how she wants to be an impactful person. How do I talk to my daughter about this? Why do you think so many people want to be famous? And what would you tell a kid about what it's really like? Sandy in New Jersey.
Wow. Thank you, Sandy in New Jersey.
Yes. See what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very familiar with fame, wanted or unwanted, because I didn't get into this for fame. I got into it because I enjoyed performing. Yeah. And I definitely wanted to be successful, but I didn't really understand what being famous really meant, you know? And it took a while for me to navigate, what that is based on, being a person, growing, going through people, whatever you're going through, you also have to be, somewhat, courteous to your fans, you know what I mean? Regardless of whether you're embracing that day or not, kind of thing. And it would have been nice to have had someone instruct me in those kinds of ways. Yeah. It was kind of something I had to figure out on my own, how to deal with the fact that I can't go to Chuck E. Cheese like that anymore, kind of thing, without, being prepared to do this, you know what I mean, or whatever. It would have been nice to have had a fame manual or something like that. But it does have its upsides, fame can launch you into your profession early. It can be financially beneficial, so if you use it, for the betterment of things, then it has its perks, but it's also very fleeting, you know what I mean? So if you're attached to being famous, then that's the most heartbreaking thing when you go to a mall and nobody notices or cares, because at some point you're going to get aged out. You're just going to not be you're not going to treat Leave It to Beaver like the classic it was because it's not your time. And I would say she's right for being concerned about her daughter just wanting to be famous.
Yeah.
Because if that's the goal, then it probably won't last long.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these like influencer people or whatever usually come and go pretty quickly from what I've been noticing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would focus on like, what's the passion behind all of that pursuit? You know, and if the passion is something that's good for the world, I can get behind that, you know, because TikTok is giving us a lot of information, you know what I mean? So it can be a good tool.
You know, it's really interesting that the term fame for fame's sake, like we didn't grow up with that phrasing, right? Those words were around, but that phrasing, fame for fame's sake, and it feels more like to me that these young folks are willing to be famous at any cost or at any expense. However, it just, and that feels very unhealthy. It's like it's so important to be famous that they're willing to, you know, how they used to say in the old days, sell their souls to the devil, right? And I want to make sure that we let Sandy know that there's a discussion that should be had with your daughter about, you know, being famous is okay and being not famous is okay, but you shouldn't be at a cost that's detrimental.
It's burdensome, you know, and I don't think people realize like what a burden it can really be. Like, yes, it's nice to like go to a restaurant without a reservation or whatever, you know, but at the same time, if you look at most of the famous people in this world, a lot of them haven't done well with that side of it. You know what I mean? A lot of people just want to be able to go to the gas station, you know what I mean? Or go to the grocery store without having to like put on brand new Nikes or whatever just because they're a rapper, you know? So it's not anything to necessarily play with. And I feel like they play with it a lot on social media. You know what I mean? Like how much cash can I show? Or how much, you know, how many, you know, this challenge or that challenge, you know what I'm saying? Is that going to like get my likes up for this? You know what I mean? Take a selfie in a dangerous position, you know, blah, 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 blah. But I think artists and creativity, you know what I mean, is a good thing.
Yeah. I always say there's no way for a young person to understand the value of anonymity. You know, I think the thing that I miss most in life is just the ability to be in the world unobserved. You know, there's just a beauty to be able to sit on a sidewalk cafe with a cup of coffee.
But as a tall person,
when was
the last time you was able to just go anywhere unnoticed?
Thank you, Kenan. Thank you, because that is, go ahead, finish your point.
True, but the point is that it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
To whether it's because you're famous or tall or distinguishable, to miss out on blending in the world and just being able to watch it. Right. I mean, that's a pretty complex concept to try to articulate to a young person, right? That or there's value
kind
in
of
that.
Anyone, because it's such a dichotomy. Ooh, we getting deep with the word.
Yeah.
It's such a like double-edged sword because the grass is always greener. Like the people that are blending in are figuring out how to stand out.
That's right.
So it's like,
that's right.
What do you do with what the hand you play the hand you're dealt?
But I think the point you make about what I would say to Sandy, I would echo what you said. Keep your child focused on the passion. And if there's a real passion there, you know, then encourage it. I mean, there's some people who look at some child stars that are getting famous or their parents are encouraging it and they're like, ooh, what's going on? What are they trying to do? Well, you know, you don't know that child.
Right.
You know, they may have, and there are kids out there who have such a deep, deep yearning to make music or to perform that it's really not the parent.
Right.
It is the child's passion that's speaking. And that can show up at 4 and 5 and 7 and 12. And so it's hard to judge a parent that says, I'm just trying to let my kid explore the gift that they were given.
Right.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
And now parenting with that gift, that's an art form. Because
100%.
you got to help them learn how to protect themselves as they invest in the gift, which means that mom and dad and everybody around them can't want it more than they do.
Yes.
And that would be something I would want to make sure that Sandy is clear on, is like when it's your kid, you have to be even more clear-headed about their wants when they're, especially when they're entering into dicey territory of fame or social media exposure. Because, is it you that wants it? Are you really looking for their passion, or have you as a parent fallen prey to the fame and the money and the,
and we grow, we grow, especially kids. Like kids might like soccer today and hate it the next day, So we as adults know you got to give yourself space to grow and like continue to grow and become your best version of yourself. But if you don't allow that for a child and then you add fame on top of it, it's a pretty toxic mix more than likely. Yeah. And I think that common denominator of the ones that have been able to navigate it is family. It is parents that are like behind you and focused, not necessarily pushing you past your boundaries necessarily, but encouraging, yes. And like you said, it can't just be for them. It can't be like, the crazy momagers, papagers, or whatever that's out there that just want to be living vicariously kind of thing, so.
What if your kid said, Dad, I want to be like you. I want to be in it.
That little, can we bring my daughter in here? That little one, ready. She wants to be on, and she's going to be mad if she doesn't get a chance to come in here.
She can come in here.
Can we get my little, my two little girls?
Where is she? Bring them in.
They'll take a minute to walk down the hallway, but she's a ham and her sister's a ham too. Like they get silly and they have their moments and they want, to be on stuff. We did a Nintendo commercial together.
Oh, really?
It was the greatest day of my life because they had their own trailer, you know what I mean? And like they just had their own little world and we worked together for hours and hours and hours. They were so focused. And my big girl was like, she focuses hard on things. She wants to get everything right. Firstborn kids, I think, have a lot of that mental responsibility on their minds. So watching her, you know what I mean, like take direction and like take it really serious. I could have cried all day. It was so sweet. And that little one, she just, she wants to be a star. She sings, and like she likes attention. So we are watching her.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. Because, we want her to like understand the difference. There's a difference between enjoying attention and just wanting to be famous kind of thing. You know what I mean? And like, I think enjoying attention can be easily massaged into performance and becoming an artist and stuff like that. Yeah. When it's like, you just want fame, it's like, I feel like you're leaving the arts out a little bit, which is sadder.
Yeah.
It's a little sadder.
Yeah.
And there they go.
Oh,
she comes say hi. You say hi.
Hi,
this is Michelle.
Hi, nice to meet you all.
You gotta go say hi.
How are you? I'm Craig.
Oh, what a young lady. Hi, Georgia. I'm Michelle. How are you, sweetie?
Good. How are you?
Good. Come on over here. Here, you can, I know you're big, but you can sit here so that we can see you in the camera.
Sitting in the big seat.
Yes.
Okay.
What grade are you in?
Fifth.
That's a serious grade. Are you going into fifth or did you finish fifth grade?
Finish.
So you're a sixth grader.
Yeah.
All right.
Big girl.
All right.
Sweetheart.
And Gianna, how about you? What grade are you going in?
I'm going to second grade.
Nice.
Wow.
Grade. Okay.
Wow.
Nice.
Well, it has been really fun to have your dad on our podcast. He's kind of a cool guy. Do you think? Well, what do you think of your dad?
He's a cool guy.
Okay.
What do you think?
He's cool. I think cool guy.
Cool guy. Yeah.
And this is my brother. So one of the things your dad told us that he wants to make sure you guys always know is that you guys have each other forever. And sometimes you may fight. And as the big sister, sometimes she may get on your nerves and your big sister may act like she knows everything. And that's annoying. But in the end, you guys really do just have each other. I have two girls too, and they used to fight when they were your age. But guess what? They're best friends now.
See?
They live together. And so that can happen one day.
That's the coolest.
May not be something you can even envision right now, but staying close and taking care of each other as sisters, that's important.
Yes, it is.
Because then you can be like me and my brother, that we love each other so much we can do a whole show together. We can work together.
See?
How about that?
Yeah.
How many episodes now?
20
You see
episodes.
that? They've done 20 shows already.
And you're the first kids we've had on.
We've had on.
Woo, woo,
All right, go find your mommy.
woo. All right, you
I love
guys.
you both.
Bye.
It was great to meet
Bye.
you.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
See you, bye. Well, we'll see you out there.
All right. Wow, they're gorgeous.
Thank you for indulging me.
Oh my gosh.
In my babies.
They're the first. They're the first
They're
kids.
the first
babies.
kids. Our kids haven't even been on
They
the show.
won't.
Yeah.
See, that's
They're
what
gonna be
happens.
jealous. They're
Our
gonna be
kids.
mad.
No,
they
they
won't. They'll be
they're
like,
trying
"Well,
to
good.
avoid
Maybe
being on the show.
you'll get rid of us.
That's
You'll
so
stop
funny.
talking about us."
I love it.
Well, yeah, no wonder you're putty. Yeah,
I'm over
you
it.
don't have
It's
a
done.
chance.
Nope. It's
Yeah.
done. I'm
Yeah.
shining up these knuckles.
Yeah, you're
That's
going to have to get the uncles ready.
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
They on deck. They've been like, yeah, maybe when you let me know.
You do.
I love it.
Well, Kenan, it has been just
It's
a
a
delight
pleasure.
to
I'm
spend
sad that it has to come
time
to a close.
with you.
I know.
Well, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Come
No,
to the
we can
vineyard.
chat. Yeah,
Come
I'm
see
coming.
us.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
All right. But so proud of the man you are.
Thank you.
know, not just your
Absolutely.
accomplishments, but
Thank you.
you are a good man,
I tried, man.
kind man.
Thank you. Yes.
You were clearly brought up with your manners.
Yes, I was.
So
I got my manners
you've got
right here
your
in my
manners.
pocket all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It
Appreciate
has
having
been
Thank
a
y'all,
pleasure.
man.
This
It's such
has
a
been a
pleasure.
pleasure.
We'll
Yeah.
do part 2 soon.
We will do
Oh,
part two.
absolutely.
Oh, what am I
Yeah.
going to wear for part 2?
Oh.